And so now you then end up and you're looking to set up your own channel on Roku. Please let me in on the process that got you to that point.
Welcome to Shameless. Here we explore the transformative power of courage and action.
Thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed our conversations and you want to have more insightful discussions and hear from other incredible guests, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us to grow and continue bringing this amazing content. Thanks for joining in and enjoy today's episode of Shameless Podcast.
Hello. I am Dzikamai Gangaidzo and I'm your host of the Shameless Podcast. And today I'm joined with Vuyo Joe. We're going to do this again. You're going to have to, that surname of yours, you're going to have to, you just have to break it out for me.
It's Joboda. Yeah.
I don't want the American version. I want the one from the motherland.
The way my uncles say it, right? My uncles call it Joboda.
You know what? I have to say, so I am Dzikamai Gangaidzo, and I've ended up now being just referenced as Ziggy. So trust me, it started simply and then it just changed into something else, and now I got no control over this. So sad. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward. I love the name of your podcast. I think there's something very interesting in it. That being shameless and to me that kind of puts into framework words like unapologetic and brave and shameless.
And you know what? It's stories like yours actually that are the type of examples that we're looking for, because I mean, you've come from a space where you've had to overcome a lot of different obstacles, whether it is from your upgrowing to being bullied to being in New York. So I'm actually very curious as to maybe you just give me a bit about yourself. I mean, out of Cape Town, please tell me, what is that? Where did you come from?
So I was originally born in a part of Cape Town called Kwalanga, which is like a township, right? It's one of the oldest townships in Cape Town. I think one of the first townships in Cape Town. So it has a lot of history to it, a lot of, culture, and really embedded in the fabric of what Cape Town is. And I grew up in that township and, I experienced a number of different, things that I would say a lot of young people in that community went through growing up, things like poverty and just difficulty in general. And life progressed from there. I was, through what I do now, which is film and television and media, got exposed to what life could potentially look like from what's different to what I'm experiencing right now.
Hold on. I'm going to have to stop you there. From the township, are you saying to me that you gathered your strength, your dream, the possibility of what life could be through TV and media? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly that. So I was the only child, right, for the longest time before my mom later got married. So, and then I had other kids, but I was the only child. And because I was the only child, when I got back from school, I didn't have, siblings to play with. And I watched television a lot. So when I got back from school, I used to just watch TV. And I just saw a different world from TV, right? My grandmother used to watch things like Bold and the Beautiful and Days of Our Lives. And, I just started getting exposed to like a different type of world, not even in South Africa from a context of like a Generations or a Muvango, but even beyond that, right? Shows like the Oprah Winfrey Show, Dr. Phil, Judge Judy, and just these programs that showed me that there was, yes, a world within South Africa that's different, but there's also a world outside of South Africa. And then I just started becoming very curious to wanting to understand like what is out there and why is it different to what I'm currently experiencing. And that curiosity led me to so many decisions post that were really driven by this curiosity, right? From participating in different cultural activities in school. I was like, I want to understand what this media thing is all about. which then fast forward in high school, I started doing everything you can think of that's culture related, from theater to dance to music to singing, performance, just the works. I was there. If there was any program in the community, you were going to see me there. At school, it signed me up because I just was very curious and wanted to see how far I could learn about the skills that I saw people on TV kind of, showcasing. And I wanted to absorb those skills so that when I'm getting myself within the TV, media, film space, I kind of have gained enough momentum and understanding of what's required of me. So yeah, my curiosity was birthed simply and purely from television, because there was no other way that I was going to be, there was nothing else exposing me to these things. Media was a very big essence of my childhood.
And so then, as you then transition from Cape Town and UCT, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you graduated from University of Cape Town, right?
I did. I'm a UCT alumni.
Proudly so. And every reason to be Africa's #1 ranking university. So I guess, yeah.
That's right. I say that all the time here in New York. I'm always saying, where do you go to school? I'm like, well, went to the highest ranking university in Africa. Thank you.
And you know what? I absolutely love Cape Town itself, but then you end up in New York. Which one do you like better, Cape Town or New York? I'm asking you straight.
So Cape Town is always the best city in the world. No, but even stats even prove this point. Cape Town is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and just amazing. So Cape Town will always be at the center and the epicenter of my heart. But I think what I like about New York is the fact that the city matches a lot of my energy, and something that I felt like for the longest time, there was a part of me that just felt like not out of place. I wouldn't want to use that term particularly, but I just felt like my energy was just overzealous in South Africa and in Cape Town. I was a child who just did way too much. And I feel like I want to get to a space where doing too much is the norm and doing too much is the acceptable standard. And New York was, when I landed here in 2021, it was immediately that. And I felt that immediately. And I always knew that was going to be where I'm going to eventually kind of start setting up my career after graduating. And I did exactly that. I jumped on the first flight after graduation.
And wait, but between that, or maybe I should ask, and when did you write your book?
So my book was written 2019. I released my book 2019 on my 21st birthday. So it was my 21st birthday gift to the world. In 2019, and so yeah, that was the first release of the book. It later on was republished in the US by a publisher who was based in Atlanta, and that's how I kind of got my introductory to America as well. I was doing a US book tour in 2021, and New York was one of the stops for the tour. And so my book now is currently officially a US based product, if I may put it that way, and sold in America.
And then I'm now also very curious. So you said you were dubbed the media maven. What's a maven? Firstly, let's start there.
From my understanding of the terminology, a maven is someone who's kind of eloquent within a particular field. So your understanding and how you grasp the industry is to some degree holistic, and you're an expert in the field. You understand the field. So I think that's my understanding of it. Maybe GQ has their own.
Hey, look, I'm just gonna run with that one. And if GQ says you're a media maven and you've grasped that this industry, then I'm not gonna fight it, and I'm not gonna dispute. And so now you then end up, and you're looking to set up your own channel on Roku. Please let me in on the process that got you to that point.
So it kind of all goes back to 2020. The curiosity also might come in within the timelines, because it's wait, but during that time you were doing this, so how did this? But 2020, COVID hits, and I am the most excited individual, because I'm yes, this gives me. I was in at UCT at the time, and I'm amazing. We all are told to be at home, and for me that was exciting, because I knew that this was an opportunity. And before that, I'd obviously been doing a lot of broadcasting, a lot of TV producing. And And I just was like, this is a beautiful opportunity for me to just sit down and take this time to figure out what I think the industry is going, and how I could then participate in that future. Because I knew that COVID as a pandemic was going to change the course of the future. Like that for me, when it hit, I was like, okay, so we are being redirected as a society to something that's coming up, like whatever's going to come out of this. And we think of every revolution and every pandemic in the history of time. What was post after that, particularly within media and learning this in school of how certain film and media revolutionaries kind of came from times of just societal destruction or societal, something that's happened in society. So I knew that, wherever we are as an industry right now, before COVID, is going to change. So I then became curious to where are we going and what's going to be happening. So I kind of took COVID as, for me, an opportunity to do that. And I did exactly that. I kind of honed down. The first thing I did when COVID hit was I bought a brand new desk at home. And I just was like, I need a desk. I need a comfortable chair. I want to set up an office and I set up an office, and I had gone back home and I set up an office, and I was like, now is my time. And I was just doing a lot of research, and after studying the US market in depth, and I understood how far ahead they were as an industry, and at the time I'd also enrolled with a New York University professor who was doing a screenwriting course and was kind of teaching us fundamentals of screenwriting and the future of it, etc., etc. So I was in that world. And then my network came about. I was like, okay, cool. Let me. And my network was birthed from that experiment and that research. And that digitization of content is where we're going. And I want to participate in that. And obviously, being in South Africa and knowing that there are stakeholders who are participating in that. We do have a Showmax. But in the overall grand scheme of things, there's opportunity here, right? I was like, there's opportunity here. The market is massive. And how are we making sure that we are collectively taking the industry to where the future is? And I wanted my network and my platform to be exactly that, and to kind of spearhead the industry, particularly young people, to where the future is kind of leaning towards. And I started this company which kind of incorporated all of the things that I wanted to see in the industry, right? From streaming to the award ceremony to just a number of different things that the network in and of itself comprises of. And yeah, that's how it all began. And fast forward, I came to America, and I, in my adventures, someone who was looking for exactly what I was doing, and from an African context, and was like, we understand, we know media from Africa, from a US lens and from a US point of view, right? So whatever comes from either a Netflix or an Amazon, and all of those are US-centric platforms and US-centric, centers of media. But something that comes from an African perspective and an African point of view and is said to be for the world, the slogan of the platform and the network is globally inspired but African ignited. And so it being ignited in Africa but for the world meant there were elements within it that were going to enable us to see Africa to the world, or as the world, from a point of view that was authentic to its nature. And yeah, then I got invited to launch a TV channel on Roku by a platform called Ice Theatre.
And when was this?
This was in 2022, I believe. Yeah, I was in Atlanta for about 3 months. I stayed in Atlanta to fully establish and kind of work on this, because that platform is in Atlanta. So I was in Atlanta for about 2 to 3 months, and we're working on this kind of partnership. And that was in 2022. Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by Transformation Leader. You can follow us at www.t4leader.com.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share as we embark on our mission to impact 1 million African lives by 2026.
Tune in next week for part 2 of this podcast episode.